There was a time we talked about the moral fabric of the United States of America. And all people look to us as an example of a democratic government and maybe how to emulate us. But it seems as though, where has our character of this nation gone? The morality of the men entrusted to hold the line. Always talking about the far left, but look at the far right. There is no right or wrong. This boils down the material to a moral and civic message about right and wrong. Constitutional responsibility and the failure of both leaders and citizens discusses non-representation with taxation, hypocrisy, and moral decay and leadership. What in the world would make anybody in America think that if a man has 34 felons and can become the president of the United States, that something's not wrong with him, our government, and especially us, to trust that he will change? Points out Trump's reflection of a broader cultural and ideological sickness, how he represents a portion of America that claims patriotism while rejecting democracy, justice, and equality. Names white supremacy and racial hypocrisy clearly but intelligently. Ends as a wake-up call to citizens who've allowed corruption and moral decline by doing nothing. This Constitution is nothing but a mirror to our fellow Americans, but also a mirror to those who wrote this Constitution and excluded certain parts or certain indigenous people. This was written basically by white supremacists for white supremacists. You see, the Constitution was meant to be our nation's moral compass, a covenant between the governed and those who were governed. It was not a perfect document, but it was written with one promise. That promise must never be above accountability. Government trust always serves the people. Yet today that promise stands in question. I don't think it stands in question. It's not been handled. Not because the words have changed, but because we, the people, and those that run this country have changed. Right and wrong no longer seem to carry the same weight. We've reached a point where the difference between corruption and leadership is measured not by conscience, but by party. We've allowed taxation without representation to become a new norm, where citizens pay the price while politicians play their games. We've watched government shutdowns knowing millions would suffer, and those responsible sleep soundly, insulated by power, wealth, and arrogance. And what do? We complained, we scrolled, we signed, then we went on with our day, waited for the same politicians who created the problem and solve it. We waited for leaders who've proven that they care more about re-election than reflection. We've become spectators in our own democracy, in our own play. Let's be honest about what really is. This isn't just about a single man or a single party. It's about a sickness that runs so deep, it's impossible to see how deep it is. Trump did not invent the disease. He revealed it. He showed us that millions of Americans would rather follow a felon than face the truth, than make other brothers and sisters of color their sisters and brothers. When a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time. He told us in word and deed that he sees himself above the law, and many cheered because in him they saw their defiance justified. He represents more than a political movement. He represents a mindset. A mindset believes not in democracy, only believes in what their side does and wins. That patriotism means domination, not equality. The Constitution is a shield for them and a weapon against everybody else. They are the same voices that call un-Americans while they trample the very values that they claim to defend. They wave the flag but reject what it stands for. They stand for freedom but fear equality. They quote the founders but despise the future those words could build. They are the heirs of white supremacy, not by skin, but by ideology. Those who believe power belongs to a chosen few, and justice is theirs to grant or deny. They don't go by the Bible or the Constitution. They go by the rules they make. And yet, we, the people, are not blameless. We allow this decay to spread amongst us, mistaking noise for courage and chaos for change. We've watched the Constitution become a mirror reflecting not who we aspire to be, but who we've become. Divided, distracted, and disillusioned by cowardice. The Constitution does not fail, we fail it. Every time we stay silent when the law twists to serve the powerful, every time we ignore corruption because it's convenient, every time we trade truth for comfort, we betray that sacred that trust. So ask yourself, who was the Constitution meant to serve? Was it written only for those who look, vote, or worship a certain way? Or was it meant for all? The immigrant, the laborer, the soldier, the poor, the marginalized, and yes, even the forgotten. If the Constitution wasn't written for all, then all must defend it. Just in words, no, but in action. Because the danger today isn't only in those who defy it openly, it is in those who watch it burn and do nothing. History will not ask what Trump did. It will ask what we allowed. It will also ask how a nation that claimed to stand for liberty allowed apathy to become its greatest enemy. My friends, no, democracy does not die in a day. It dies in 1,000 quiet moments while good people choose comfort over courage. The Constitution is not a relic, it is a responsibility. And if we want to preserve it, we must remember the true enemy of democracy. It is not just tyranny, it is the indifference of people who watch and don't do anything. So let us rise, not as Democrats or Republicans, not as white or black, rich or poor, as citizens who remember government belongs to us, not the other way around. We don't serve them, they serve us. And we need to demand integrity, not be a spectacle, service, not self-interest, because when we forget what the Constitution means, we not only lose our government, we lose our soul. We've had people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Nkrumah. All of these people, whether they were in Africa or here, they wanted something more than themselves, just like it. I call him it, Ibrahim Traore, because he walks in the same footsteps, in the same lane that men walk. And I'm talking about unselfish men, community-minded men, men that don't just try to be rich. They try to enrich. You understand? They try to be men of old. Don't let nobody steal our soul.